Fine, good morning to you all students. Hi students, how are you? I hope you all are fine and you all are doing well. I hope by God's grace you all are safe. Students, are you watching daily online classes? So please watch daily online class, okay? So, welcome to our today's online class students. So now we are studying about chapter 1. So what's the title of your chapter? Introduction to computers, isn't it? So last class, that means last week class, I have taught one 2-mark question. Important 2-mark question I said. So in this chapter you have studied one important 5-mark question. What's the important 5-mark question? Generation of computers, isn't it? Very important 5-mark question. Then one important 2-mark questions you have studied. So what's the important 2-mark question? Data and information. So these two questions are very important. Okay. So now you are going to study about the definition of computer. Okay. So this is also very important 2-mark question. So what do you mean by computer or define computer? So this definition, so you might have studied from even lower classes itself. Isn't it, Anna? Even from second standard itself you have studied the definition of computer. So it's easy for you, isn't it? So what's the first point? Computer is a which device? Electronic device. Okay. So we can say computer is a electronic device. Okay. Then next point, it will take raw data as input form. So for this only you need to study that data and information. So what do you mean by data and what do you mean by information? Data is a unprocessed collection of details, isn't it? But information is a processed collection and also it will give meaningful information. So a computer will take unprocessed. That means need not to be a processed form. You need to give input in which form? Unprocessed form. Okay. So after you are giving the input, so the computer what it will do mean? It will process the input. What input you are giving, based on that input, the computer will process the data. Okay. Then after processing, so it will process the data based on some conditions. Okay. It will process the data based on some conditions. Then after processing, it will give proper output. Okay. So for this, one best example I am telling. Okay. So if teachers are teaching the class, so what's the expectation of the particular teacher? For example, I am taking computer subject for you, isn't it? So I am giving input to you by means of teaching. Through online class I am giving teaching. So I am giving input by means of teaching, isn't it? Then what do you mean by processing? So input section is over. So I am giving input by taking class, isn't it? Then what do you mean by processing? So after taking class, my expectation is you should study daily portions, isn't it? So that you need to process. So you will listen the class. What are the class I am teaching? You will listen the class, that is input. So after taking all the input, then you need to process. What process you need to do? You need to study all the portions. Okay. Then input is over. Input section is over. What's the input section? I am teaching. That's the input section. Input section is over. Then what do you mean by processing? So you are getting the all of my teaching. Then based on that you are studying. So that's the processing. So that processing section also over. Then what's its output? So what's my expectation? So you should listen my teaching. Then you should study thorough. Then in the exam you should score good marks or send a mark. That's my expectation. So what output you need to give? You need to produce send-them result. Understood? Now how many processes are there? 3. What are they? Input, process and output. Understood? So consider or listen this example. So remember this example while studying this 2-mark question. Then you will never forget. Okay. So now you read this question. Computer is a electronic device. It will take which kind of data? And process. That means not order form. So after taking the input data, what the computer will do? It will process. So likewise, after listening my teaching, you should study based on the conditions. That is important. So we will say this is a 2-mark question. This is 5-mark question. From here to here you need to study. That's a condition. So likewise, computer also will take the input data and it will process all the data based on some condition. That is called set of instructions. Okay. So after processing, it will produce what? Proper output. So after getting the output, you are going to save all the results or output for your future use. That means if you need to take the data after the, for example, today you are storing something. Then after 1 week you need to take that data. So what's the use? You need to store. So otherwise without storing, whether you can able to take the data next week? No. Likewise, after processing, the computer will store all the details for the further use. Understood? Okay. Then this diagram. What's the diagram? First you need to give input. Then you need to, after giving, see this arrow mark symbol. So input, you need to draw the parallelogram box. Okay. Input and output, always you should use which box? Parallelogram box. And the process, you should use which box? Rectangular box. Okay. So listen. So that one you have studied. Computer is electronic, that takes unprocessed. That is not a ordered form. You are giving input as a not an ordered form. That is called data. So we can say this as the data. So after giving the input, it will process the data and giving the output. Altogether you can say which is called what? Information. Understood the definition? Okay. So you didn't get the textbook, no? So while I am taking class itself, so all the things I am displaying using the PowerPoint only. So you can able to write. So please keep separate notebook for computer. Okay. So please keep separate notebook for computer. So you should write daily portions. So last class I taught about data and information. So you need to put the date. For example, today I am teaching this on Monday. So you need to put the Monday's date. Okay. Then you need to write. So what you need to write? Define computer first question. Then you need to write this definition. Then draw the diagram. Understood? Okay. So in a notebook, what are the portions I am telling? You should write in a notebook. So if in a school suddenly they will ask you to submit the notebook, means you should submit, at that time I will evaluate. Okay. So next topic is components of a computer. Okay. So what do you mean by components? So components is nothing but materials or parts. So what are the different materials you are using inside the CPU or computer? What are the different parts you are using inside the computer? Okay. So that is called what? Components of a computer. Understood? So today we are going to study about what are the components you are using inside the computer. Okay. So we are saying computer, isn't it? So if you need to work the computer properly, mean you should require two main components. Okay. So to need to work a computer properly means you should need how many components? Two materials. What are they means? Hardware and software. Understood? So we can say as a definition, so computer is a combination of hardware as well as software. Okay. So now you are going to study about what do you mean by hardware and what do you mean by software. Okay. So hardware is nothing but a physical component of a computer. So physical component mean, for example, by your eyes, what are the materials or what are the devices you are seeing in the computer, that is called what? Hardware. Understood? That is the electronic parts. For example, monitor, you might have seen monitor, keyboard, mouse, then CPU, printer. Okay, these are the different devices. So these are the devices you are seeing by your eyes, isn't it? So these devices are called as what? Hardware. Understood? Then software. Software means, for example, before that I am telling, so you are going to buy one new mobile phone. Okay, so you are going to buy one new mobile phone. So after buying your mobile phone, whether any softwares or apps or application are installed in your mobile phone? No. So they will give one Empty mobile phone alone. So that empty mobile phone we are calling as a what? Hardware. So hardware means what are things you can say in a mobile phone? Mobile phone we can say, then inside the mobile phone SIM card portion, then battery, then memory card. This and all we can say is what? Hardware. Okay, understood what do you mean by hardware? Likewise, computer also electronic devices, that are the devices you are seen by your eyes. That is called what? Seen by eyes means nothing but that is a physical device. That is devices. Motherboard, monitor, then keyboard. Likewise, the devices we can say as what? Hardware. Okay. Then what do you mean by software? So say take that same example, mobile phone. So after buying the empty mobile phone, what you will do? You will register, and then you will register your mail ID. Then after open, you will from the Play Store you will install lot of applications based on your wish. Maybe WhatsApp, Instagram, FB, Word, MX Player, then what like share chat at hello, likewise lot of apps based on your wish you will install. So without installing all these apps from the Play Store, whether the mobile phone is useful? No. So after installing all the apps only you can able to use the apps as per your wish, isn't it or not? So that apps we can call as what? Software. Understood? Likewise, a computer physical device will be there. If you need to work the computer properly, or if you need to use the computer based on your wish means, you should use what? Software. Understood what do you mean by software? Okay. So, we can say software is a set of programs or instructions. Program means nothing but later you will study what do you mean by program. So, or set of statements or set of conditions or set of procedure or set of instructions. That is called what? Software. Okay. So, this hardware and that software makes together to work the computer. So, understood? So what are the components of a computer? So, computer is a combination of what and what? Hardware as well as software. What do you mean by hardware? It's a physical device. Okay, what are the devices you know? Motherboard, keyboard, monitor, printer, etc. etc. Software means what? A set of instructions or program. So, to make a computer works properly means, so both hardware and software together only make the computer works properly. Understood? Okay. Then, now we are going to see one by one what are the hardware devices and software devices. Okay. So, this is the motherboard of your computer. Okay. So, inside the CPU, if you see means one board like structure is there. This is the motherboard of your computer. Okay. So, whether this is the hardware or software? Whether this is hardware or software? Hardware. Why? This is also one device used inside this, or one hardware parts used inside the CPU. So in the motherboard only, lot of parts are there, or lot of pins are there. So inside this only you can able to insert RAM. Okay. So this is a fan. So here lot of ports are there. So in this motherboard only, this motherboard will process all the details. Okay. So here only you are going to pin all the PowerPoint, that is a printer plugs. What are the pins? Your keyboard, then monitor, then printer, projector. What are the things you need to connect to the computer? All the things you need to pin at this ports. Have you seen this visible at last? So all the pins you need to pin here. So if RAM you need to install means this side you need to install. Okay. So this is a motherboard of your computer. Whether it will locate inside the CPU. And so this is one of the hardware device. Then next one is the memory device. So what do you mean by memory? So you take your mobile phone, then only you will get understand. So mobile phone also two types of memory is there. So what are two types of memory you say? Internal storage and external storage. Internal storage means phone storage. External storage means that is a SD card or memory card. Is it? Likewise, computers also have two types of memory. Primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory means all them already in a hard disk. Inside the CPU, hard disk will be there. So there you can able to store. That is called primary. Secondary means pen drive, memory cards. Likewise, extra additional memory you have installed the computer or pin the computer. That is called second. That and all you will study later. So this is the memory device. So this is also one device. So this is a hardware or software. This hardware or software? Hardware. Understood? Okay. So this is the monitor. So this and all you might have seen is in a normal computer. So monitor is a hardware device or software. It's one of the devices, isn't it? So we can say this is a hardware. Then keyboard. Keyboard is a hardware or software? Hardware. Understood? Okay. Then what are the hardwares you have studied? Motherboard. Then memory device, monitor, keyboard. Like this, lot of examples you can write. Understood? Next. So next you are going to study about softwares. Okay. So listen, what are this one? What is this one? This and there are lot of applications or lot of softwares. Likewise in a mobile phones it will be there, no, in a Play Store. WhatsApp, then Google Chrome, then Instagram, FB. Likewise lot of apps are there. So likewise in a computer also this and all we can call as what? Softwares or applications. Understood? So what's a computer? Computer is a combination of hardware and software. Okay. So listen, this all softwares and all this hardware combine together, and if both hardware and software combine together and make the computer to work properly, and also based on your wish you can able to use. So you need to install all the softwares inside the computer. Here what are the hardware devices you might have seen? Monitor is there, CPU is there, keyboard is there, speaker is there, then printer is there. So this and all hardware device, if you need to work all this hardware device properly, mean you should use which one? You need to install all the softwares. Okay. So we can say computer is a combination of hardware and software. Understood now? Okay. Then, so functional components of a computer. So how, now you have studied about components of a computer, isn't it? How this components of a computer is going to work, or how the components of a computer is working. Okay. So all the computers are work based on one cycle. What's the name of the cycle? Means IPO, important 1 mark question. Understood? So all the computers will work based on which cycle? IPO cycle. What do you mean by IPO? Means input process output cycle. So already you have studied about the definition of a computer. In there itself you have studied. Computer will take and process collection of data as input, then process the data, then it will produce the output. So that is called IPO cycle. Input process output cycle. Understood what do you mean by IPO cycle? Input process output cycle. So you need to give proper input. It's after giving the input the computer will process the data. After it will give the proper output. That is called what? IPO cycle. So this is the important 1 mark question. Okay. So if you need to get the proper output, you should give proper input, isn't it? For example, I am expecting good result from you. So that if I am expecting good result from you means that is output. If I need to get the good result from you means what I need to do? I need to teach well. Isn't it? That's a proper input. Then if I'll teach well, you need to study well. That's the process. Understood? So you need to get the proper input or correct output mean you should give the proper input. Okay. So if you are giving input to the computer mean, so after giving the input, all the input is processed by one device. Okay. You are giving input to the computer by using input devices. Okay. After giving the input, in computer one device will be there. It will process all the data. Which device means CPU. Who is doing processing? In computer, who is doing processing? CPU. That is called central processing unit. Okay. So computer is taking input. CPU is processing the data. And after processing the data, you will get proper output. Understood? Now remember the definition of the computer. Computer takes and process collection of data as input, process the data, give the output and next last point. After getting the output, it will saves the data for the future use. Where it will save the data? Just think it and say. Whether you will store while I'm taking class, where you will store your all the details in brain, isn't it? Likewise, in the computer, all the details will stored in which unit? Memory unit. Understood? So computer will store all the details in which unit? Memory unit. Okay. So this memory unit will hold all the data and instructions. So after holding all the instructions, it will do processing. Understood the functional components of a computer? Understood? Okay. So the computer will works based on which cycle? IPO cycle. What do you mean by IPO? Input, process, output cycle. What do you mean by IPO? It will take proper, you need to give the input. Then after giving the input, it will process the data. After processing the data, you will get the proper output. Okay. So who is giving the input? User is giving input to computer. Then after getting the input, who is processing the data? CPU. Then after processing the data, the computer will give what? Output. After getting the output, all the details will be storing in where? Memory. Now understood the functional components of a computer? Okay. So listen. So what I am explaining, the same thing. This functional components of a computer is a very, very important 5-mark question. Understood? So in this chapter, two important, not only two, more important questions are there, but very, very important questions, if I need to say, means generations of a computer and functional components of a computer. These two questions are very, very important questions, mostly expected questions. Okay. So for 5-mark question, if they asked me, you need to write from here. Okay. After writing this one, you need to draw this diagram. Listen. So computer is divided into 3 parts. See, input unit, processing unit, then output unit. Okay. So you are giving input here. Okay. So this is called, so all the details are processing where? CPU, that is central processing unit, isn't it? CPU. So this is called CPU. After processing the data, you will get what? Output. Okay. So inside the CPU, lot of devices or lot of units are there. So that and all you will study later. Okay. Control unit. Okay. Then the control unit means, have you seen this blue color dotted lines? That means this control unit will control the signals. So where to where the signals need to flow, from here to here or up to down. Likewise, the signals, all the signals are flow. For example, water is flowing from upside to downside. So if you need to switch on the fan, means first you need to switch. So immediately the fan will run, isn't it? The current is flowing from the switch to fan. Likewise, so if you need to work the computer properly, means after getting the input, this control unit will control the way, from where to where the signals are passing. Okay. Then ALU, that and all you will study later. Okay. So after processing all the things, so it will store in where? In the memory. There are 2 types of memory, I said. Okay. So inside the that is internal memory and main memory. So then secondary storage, or secondary means the pen drive, likewise. Okay. So anyway, altogether we can say this is the CPU. After processing all the data, you will get one output. Listen. So you are giving input. See the red color line? You are giving the input to which memory? Main memory. Okay. Then after giving the input from, see this line? See this arrow line? Giving the main memory. The main memory is giving to ALU. Then just reverse the lines will come. That is main, you are giving the input to main memory. Then main memory is giving details to whom? Internal memory. Internal memory is giving to whom? ALU. Again the ALU is giving internal memory, main memory, secondary storage. Then listen, after processing all the things, see this red color line? You are getting the proper output. Understood? Understood or not? Okay. Then next you are going to study about each components of a computer one by one detail. Okay. Okay. Today up to this enough. That tomorrow we can study What do you mean by what are the units? Input unit. What do you mean by what are the things present inside the CPU control? What do you mean by control unit? What do you mean by ALU? What do you mean by internal memory? This and all tomorrow we can study. Okay. So today, after completion of this online class, you should write what are things mean. First I taught no define computer. So definition in your computer notebook, put today's date. Then you need to write the definition of a computer, draw the diagram. Then next what you need to write? This one, functional components of a 5-mark question. Okay, functional components of a computer. There are 4 points you need to write. Then draw this diagram in your notebook. So today's study portion is you should study definition of a computer and that diagram. Then this 5-mark question, there are 4 lines as well as this diagram. Draw in your notebook. Students, please study daily portions. Don't waste time. Okay, if you have any doubt in this portion while I'm taking class means, so each Wednesday 3 to 3:40 p.m. you have interactive session class. At that time you can clarify. Okay students, tomorrow I'll continue. Thank you.